The presidential debate from last night. I mean, what can I really say about it? It was largely, basically, I don't think it's going to change any minds. I think most people are pretty locked in, but as far as the actual content of it, I mean, there were a lot of things I enjoyed about it. Trump had a lot of good one-liners and zingers, like throwing Kamala's, "I'm speaking" thing back at her. Wait a minute, wait a minute, I'm talking now, and quiet please. Like that was pretty good. That said, I think there were a lot of people who had unrealistic expectations for things about it, because there was a lot of people on the right in particular that I saw. They were like, "Oh, he did so bad. It was so horrible." It's like, no, he didn't. He did fine. What are you talking about? I thought he did pretty good. Like, Kamala is more composed than Biden. So I think people just had, like, low expectations. Like, thing is, she can form a sentence. A lot of it was fucking word salad, mind you. But, that really doesn't matter when it plays to her base, because the thing is, like I said, most people are going to be locked in regardless. I think there was a couple of moments where Trump took some of the bait she was throwing at him. There was maybe one or two times he got off topic, but for the most part, I think he did really well. And again, as people have been pointing out, it's a 3v. It was a 3v1. The moderators were just showing the most unbelievable amount of bias. They were constantly like fact checking him on shit. Like, and I use the term fact checking very loosely, but like Kamala would literally just use old tired lies, and there was the bloodbath quote lie, there was the Charlottesville bullshit, there was stuff like that, right? And they never called her on that, because of course they didn't. Also, like I said, there was plenty of things that she seemed kind of prepared for some of her responses. I'm not going to go too into that, because it really, at the end of the day, that one, if we get too bogged down in the minutia of that one, it just gets to be a distraction. Some people think she might have been wearing like an earpiece with this earring, but then I've seen like a community note on Twitter saying that that's not how that earpiece looks. That's not super relevant to me. I mean, the whole thing was obviously biased as all hell, so that regardless, it was obviously set up in her favor. I do think it's funny they had to give her like a tiny podium to not make it as obvious how much like bigger and more imposing Trump is to her. But like I said, largely, I don't think this is going to change a ton of minds. I think there was a lot of people on the right blackpilling saying, "Oh, it's over. Oh, it's so bad." I think he performed better in this than his 2020 debates. I also think he performed better than Mike Pence did in the 2020 vice presidential debate. Because that one was fucking boring. This one was actually kind of boring in some regards as well. But like I said, I largely don't think this is actually going to change any minds. Most people are locked in, and there's going to be a spin from everybody. Everyone's going to say, "Yeah, my candidate won." And like I said, there's also people who do the opposite, where they're fucking like coping and acting like it's the end of the world. It's like they think that like with the last debate, that like because that's the one that made Biden quit. They expected that again. You know what I mean? But like Trump didn't even perform that great in the last one. Like, he performed fine. I think he performed better this time. That's because he needed to. When he was going against Biden, Biden was in particularly low form. Like, that, it's pretty obvious to me the difference between these two scenarios, right? So I just think people need to have their expectations tailored properly to actually know what they're getting into with this. But like, there was like, people like, they're obviously spinning the whole cats and dogs thing, which, There's a lot of people in that area that have said that that happened. But of course, with their quote-unquote fact check, they have to be like, oh, well, the city officials said it didn't happen. I think maybe getting too into it was obviously giving them, like, fuel to use and shit like that. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's the fucking home run these people think it is. And then, like, you got people acting like all surprised that Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala. She's obviously always been, like, a Democrat. That's been pretty fucking obvious. Like, Taylor Swift has always been anti-Trump, so I don't know why anyone's acting like that's, like, a big deal, or that means anything. Like, it doesn't. All these fucking celebrity endorsements and shit really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, because celebrities all just kind of have the same opinions. There's a few of them out there that don't, but, like, they're the exception, not the rule. At the end of the day, it was pretty standard fare. Like I said, I've heard a lot of people say it was terrible. I've heard other people say, "Oh, it was great. He was in a 3v1 and he destroyed everyone." Like, he did good. He did pretty good. But I don't think he did, like, spectacular. Like, I don't think it was like it's somewhere in the middle, right? Like, he didn't do terrible. He actually did pretty decent, I think. And it was, in fact, a 3v1. But that doesn't mean that, like, he did super duper amazing and flawless either. Like I said, there was a couple of times he got off topic. But that said, if you actually listen to anything she said, it was always either word salad, old, absolutely debunked talking points, or just completely changing the subject. Or, just blatant lies in general. Like, they didn't push her on the fracking thing. Again, she's been inconsistent as hell on that. They brought it up very briefly in passing, right? I mean, don't forget, like, the debate she had against Joe Biden when they were running against each other in the primaries in 2020. She said a bunch of horrible shit about him. She called him a rapist. She said she believed all this other stuff about him. And then when she was asked, well, now that you're running alongside him, didn't you mean any of that? And she's like, it was a debate. What do you want? So you know that she's a liar. Like, she's dishonest, but she's a career politician. Like I said, I don't think it's going to change any minds. It's pretty, and I'm repeating myself a bit here, but it was just there. You know what I mean? I got some enjoyment out of it with some of the zingers and stuff, but overall, it's just there. We'll see if the next one happens and how it goes. But I think people really need to just get some more realistic expectations. That's really it. But that's all I really have to say. What's up, Andy? Shorter Red Eye Raw, but just thought I'd get it out there. Anyway, have a good one. Toodles.